Okay, good afternoon all. We are live now as I see it. Thank you all for attending. My name is Councillor Amajit Jemu and I shall be chairing the meeting today. My colleagues, Councillor Ahmed and Councillor Kumar, and I will comprise of today's subcommittee. We have Misha Jalil, who is the clerk to the subcommittee, will be taking the minutes. And Hatun Zaib is our legal advisor to the subcommittee, and Anjali Gurcha from the licensing processing officer will introduce the report in a little while. Can I ask the rest of you to introduce yourself, please?
I'll go first, and Councillor. My name is Bob Deere. I'm a licensing, compliance and enforcement officer for Ealing Council.
Thank you.
I'm Mr. Panchal. I'm representing the applicant, Elena Jankovic, and she is with me in my office here. Hence, that is why I've got a mask at the moment, as and when required. If she is required to answer anything, or if you want to ask any questions, she is available to answer. But I will be doing the presentation and answering the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Panchal.
Thank
you.
I
take it that you're going to be screen sharing. Can we just see the applicant, please?
Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Irina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. If we need to question you, then we'll ask you to come to the screen again later. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I'm just going to go through the procedure for today, as I'm sure you all know already, but I will go through it in any case. In accordance with the procedure, I will invite the licensing officer to introduce the report and provide clarification on any factual issues. I will also invite the applicant later to present the application and answer any questions and call any witnesses. And I will also be inviting those who have made representations or objections to make their representation, answer any questions and call any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and the committee democratic services officer, will retire to consider its decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed in writing within 5 working days. If the panel cannot reach a decision today, you'll be notified in writing within 5 working days of the panel's decision. Okay, is that clear?
Chair.
Yes.
I can't see Hattie online. Can you see her?
I think no.
She's going to remain off screen because of
but she's not on the screen at all. We can't.
No, her name should be appearing here.
Yeah. Misha?
I'll check what's happened. She's not in the meeting.
Okay, we'll just hold for a few moments while we wait for Hattie to come on board. Apologies for the inconvenience. We have had some IT issues this morning.
Yeah, she is back now.
Hattie, are you with us now? It's okay if you can't see Hattie, but we must see your name up here so we know that you're there.
Yes, it should be up.
Okay, just for clarification. Oh gosh, it's starting me to restart again. That's not going to happen. Sorry, I was talking to myself. It's my IT issues today. Okay, just for your information, Hattie, we've gone through the procedure and I'm about to invite the licensing officer to present the case now.
Thank you.
Licensing officer, are you ready to present your case?
I am. So the applicant is Irena Jankovic. She's made an application for a new premises license in relation to East European Food and Drinks, which is located at 49 Greenford Avenue, Hanwell, W71LL. The licensable activities that have been applied for are as follows: supply of alcohol Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 2300 hours, and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 2230 hours, for off sales only. We received 2 representations for this application, one from the Metropolitan Police and the other from Ealing Council Licensing Enforcement and Compliance Team. The subject premises is currently being run as an East European convenience store and is not located in the special policy area. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Can we, I'd like to invite the applicant to present the application, please.
Sorry, Chair. Yeah. Do you want us to present the case first? Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Chair, my client Iriana has applied for, we have applied on behalf of Iriana, the premises license, which is European Food and Wine. She has acquired her personal license on 18th November 2020. So she holds a personal license. The East European Food and Wine Limited is a registered company with partnership with her husband. Both of them hold shares. The experience my partner has is she's worked for Pret Manager in Paddington Station in Baker Street for 7 years. So she has a retail experience in retail trade for the last 7 to 8 years. In November 2020, she started working at the shop East European and acquired the shop from the previous owners. They bought the stock from the previous owners and they decided to run the shop. In the meantime, while they were running the shop, or they took over the stock and everything, there was a visit made by the Mr. Bob Deere from the enforcement officer. And during that visit, I'm going to briefly go to the visit, which is on page 41 to 152, page 41. And during that visit on 3rd of November, when he visited the premises, the alcohol that was found, which he is mentioning in his visit, was moved, the alcohol that there was not duty paid or something, was moved into the kitchen and was not available for sale, but it was moved out. That was bought from the stock of the previous owners. There happened to be, by mistake, one alcohol bottle left onto the shelf, which was advised by Mr. Bob Deere to immediately destroy it, which it was done. And thereafter, there were no, on their checks and everything, there were no alcohol or none of the not duty paid stocks or anything brought up into the shop. They do have a lease document that I sent in yesterday to Misha Jalil for your committee to look into. The lease is an ongoing document, which I don't know whether you received that or not, Chairman.
We have received it, Mr.
Thank you. Yeah, so that lease document is ongoing and will be signed very soon, which will require them to have the lease of the premises. The previous owners have created a lot of fuss at the premises for the present people, and the mess has now been cleared. The other plus point at the premises is, which is worthwhile noting down when you make your decision. There was a 0 rating for the health and safety at the premises prior to them taking over, which is now rated number 5. So they got a 5 rating on the health and safety. A visit from the council was made at the premises, and Irana's experience of 7 years trade at Pret Manager refurbished the entire shop and brought it into a level where it is now 5 rated, which is excellent. There is a tremendous feedback on the Facebook of the Hanwell News and group, which brings the shop into a very high level. There's fruits and everything brought up, and the owners now personally visit the market to get the correct fruits for the local people. As it is named as East European food, they've started bringing in the Italian, the French, the Romanian, and the Latvian and the Romanian community around the area. And hence, that is why they're getting a very, very good report on the Hanwell News and everything. So there is a tremendous improvement in all ways in making sure the 4 licensing objectives are robustly promoted at the premises now, which I'm sure by the visit of Mr. Bob Deere afterwards will confirm when he puts his report in that the matters are now getting better. And presently we are just requesting the committee, if the license was granted, we are happy to, if you go on to page 39, where the police is asking, we have asked in the applicant's application that we would like alcohol above 6% ABV, 6% to be allowed for sale, whilst the police and the Bob Deere is asking for 5%. If we could come out in the middle and ask if we can request the committee that if we could get 5.5, which would suffice, and we'll stop the street drinkers to come up at the premises. We are happy in doing that. We're also happy in agreeing to any conditions laid out by Mr. Bob Deere, which is on page 43 of your bundle. The 3 conditions that have been asked by the police, in just an improvement on your condition number 2 of the Bob Deere's condition, which says 5% to increase to 5.5, if that is minded by the committee. And we agree with all the other conditions, which will discard the previous owners, Mrs. Sakina Zamrani or Hamoudi Karim, of not allowing them to come on the premises. But as you can see, Chairman, there is a lot of improvement at the premises. Under the guidance and under the laws are all now followed. They have changed the premises a lot. They're putting some investment in making sure the premises are now up to date compared to what the previous owners were doing. So, Chairman, we're here to answer any questions that you wish to ask us. We are happy to look at the whatever you feel better for the premises, but we feel that the premises license be granted.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Penchal. Okay, I don't think there are any other, you don't have any other witnesses or anything, do you?
No, we don't, sorry, we don't have any witnesses.
Okay, if that's the case, I now call, if there's any questions for Mr. Penchal?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Penchal, 2 questions. The first one is, what is the off-license experience of the applicant? Not the retail experience, but the off-license experience or the training. And the second question is, if we were minded to grant the license and we were keeping, as Bob Deere said, to 5% strength, will that be something you are happy to take, or that is not something that is useful to you? So 2 questions.
She has, when I say she has worked in a retail trade, pet manager is a retail trade like the off licenses, apart from not dealing in alcohol. So she has there worked with the shop here in the present shop that she has bought. She had some experience working there. The husband works for Intercontinental Hotel as a chef, so they understand the hospitality trade. So off licenses normally have an hospitality trade experiences at times. So she does have a lot of experience, and we can see from her experience how well, as I said in my presentation, that coffee, sandwiches, and local products and everything are brought in for the customers. So the customers are happy about that. So that's your first question that we can answer. She has successfully now, up to now, run the shop without breaching any of the conditions laid out. Your second question of would we suffice? She would love to have 5.5 because around the area, people have over 6%. The other competitors around the area. And again, every premises is on its own merits. So we're not going to be arguing if they were to be given 5%, which will be again something that they will suffer in the alcohol trade. But if we are asking for a reasonable 5.5, we are even asking below what everybody else has got around the area. As it is called East European, and they have some East European beers which would range into 5.5, even 6 if it's possible. But we are not going that far. We are happy to have it to 5.5 if it was granted. But if it was 5%, then we are still happy to have the license granted.
Mr. Panchal, going back to Councillor Ahmed's question, can we ask the applicant to answer the question on her experience and training, please?
Chair, can I just, Mr. Panchal, you did say that they've got the experience of hospitality, selling sandwiches, coffee, but you know, when we hear applications, the problem is always on the strength of the alcohol, on non-duty paid, the timing, single can, street drinking. So these are the things that we are really interested in, that there should be a training or some sort of experience where we don't have to bring the applicant back after a few months and hearing the review again. So that's the experience I'm looking for.
Yeah, Chairman, I could put it down in a very simple term that as you say, that you don't want the client to come back to the committee. We don't want the client to come back to the committee when we bring applications at these hearings. We feel that as a training firm, we also would like the clients to adhere to all the conditions that they are being issued with. And in this case, I have a lot of confidence in this client because since taking over and them working there since October now, October, November, December, we are now in April. They have followed every condition there. They made sure none of the conditions are breached. They've been excellent there. Sorry, is Bob?
I think Bob's probably having another conversation. He's on mute at the moment, Mr. Panchal, so you can carry on.
Okay, sorry. So they have got the experience about that, and they've not grumbled about what type of alcohol should be sold or anything, because they keep on following the conditions. They've attended all the trainings that we had proposed to them. They are going to have their training manuals, which we are proposing to have. They have got a refusal book. They've got all the posters carried out, which the premises before did not have. We were actually very disappointed with the previous owners. We are even now disappointed with the previous owners because they are not even getting in touch with us as and when required. And you don't understand that there was a hearing for the previous owners, which they did not attend. And we were not even informed when they were informed about the training. So we could see that we are now in good hands compared to what we were even before. I hope that answers your question.
Mr. Panchal, thank you for your answer, but I would still like the applicant.
Yes, ma'am. The applicant's here to answer.
Yes, if you can just give us her.
I'm going to move for the applicant to come and answer that question.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So just to answer on your question, yes, I did been working before in the Pret for 7 years, and I had the experience with customers, how to work with the customers, how to sell the products, and how to make the customers happy. And I didn't have much experience before with the alcohol, but now from this time that I start to work and from this time when we take over the shop, I start to get the experience. If I didn't know something, I was always contact actually Mr. Pancho on the phone, and I was asking him the question about what I should do in some cases, and he gave me so much useful information. He gave me so many papers about the license, about the rules, about the standards, about the government regulations, yes. And I read a lot, I learn a lot. And as we are working every day now with the customers and we are selling the alcohol, I know what we can sell, what we cannot sell, for whom we can, that we cannot sell for the children, and that if we are not sure how old is the person, that we need to ask the ID, and that we cannot sell the alcohol from the early morning, for example, that we can sell just from 9 o'clock until the 10 o'clock, what it says on the previous license. We are working every day with the customers, and I'm learning a lot, me and my husband. And I think that my previous experience and knowledges and will help me in the future to run still the shop in a better way, because we improve a lot in the shop. We did
The question was, ma'am, the question was, do you have any experience of working, selling alcohol?
Yes, now, yes. From August 2020, I can say that, yes, I have experience to sell the alcohol.
Councillor Kamar, any questions or any further questions?
Yes, I do.
Please go ahead.
Okay, well, I think I'd prefer to speak to the premises Irina Shenkovich. Yes, is that correct? Yes. I'd like you to answer this question. I think we haven't had a completely clear answer to Councillor Ahmed's question, but who will be working with you, and who else has had training for your premises?
For the premises, my husband, I train him. Whatever I learn on the courses of the license, when I received the personal license, whatever I had on the courses, all information, I straight away pass it for my husband. So I train him, and he has well been reading the documents which Mr. Pancho gave it to us. And at the moment, no one else is working in the premises. And whatever we're going to recruit someone in the future, because we have a plan to recruit someone, because we need help. We are selling and serving much more customers than before. And plus we are doing so many other new improvement in the shop, as the vegetables, as the coffee, as the cakes, as the pastry, and we are adding much more new items from the different countries. We will gonna need someone. Whatever we're gonna recruit some person, and did this officially. We will train this person. I know that by law it should be every 6 months, but if this person is going to be very new for the selling the alcohol, we're going to train this person every month. We're going to make some book for the person, and with the rules, with the all the standards which should be followed, and we're going to do this training all the time.
So are you saying that you're the only one who's working at the premises?
Me and my husband, both of us together.
Because there's a little bit of clarity I need on your husband. It's Gergely, is it?
Gergely,
yeah. So because I mean, I understand that when a visit was made to the premises by Mr. Deer, I understood that your husband said that he's helping. So
yes, because
he's untrained, or you're saying you're taking help from Mr. Panchal. I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that when you have any issues to do with that, you're calling him up. So you've said that yourself. So, and you also say that you've understood the training side of it, and you really know what it involves. But I think, I'd like you to just clarify what it is that you are not clear about, that you're having this difficulty, because obviously if you're engaging or you're contacting someone who's actually on your training process, what exactly what is the concern exactly?
That time when Mr. Bob came to the shop, I wasn't there in the premises, yes. And that time my husband said that he was helping me because we just take the shop. It was maybe more than 1 week that we took the shop, and we even didn't check all the products what was in there. We checked whatever we found it on a shelf. We put to the bin, we put it to the sink. And that 2 bottles or 3 bottles, I even don't know how much it was there, because my husband was asking me, do you know something about that bottles which Mr. Bob found that? And I said, no, I didn't know. We even didn't see that bottles which was on a kitchen bin found that. We didn't know that they've been staying there. Whatever we was found it on a shelf, we was bin it, we was put in the sink. But that one which Mr. Bob was found, we even didn't know that they've been there.
Yeah, because you say you bought the stock, from what I've read, that you bought
the stock. We
Yeah.
bought the stock, and it was very short time, and we didn't check everything in one day, because it's a lot of products. It was
But
a
you
lot
paid
of
for it. You paid for it, so
Yes.
but you weren't able to check what you were paying for.
We did pay, yes, but we didn't, in a few days, we didn't check everything. My first as my experience, I was wanted to check all the products which have a shelf life proper. So whatever, I didn't want to have nothing on a shelf which been expired. So we was looking for all these items which been in the fridge, which was been in the shelf, because my worry, I didn't want someone to buy products which been expired and to get sick. And plus we was checking the alcohol. Yes, we did check, but maybe we missed 1 bottle. This one which is Mr. Bob found it. And that one which was on the kitchen, we even didn't know that it was some alcohol there, because we just took over the shop and we still didn't move everything. And it was a lot of things like boxes and bags and different packaging. It was very messy. And when I started to work in August there, the previous owner, he didn't want me to do nothing, like to touch that one. So I didn't ask him.
Okay, so at the time of the visit or the time that you purchased, did you have the training in were you actually undergoing the training, or were you not?
Yes, when I started to work there, they said for me the main things, how I need to work, how I need to sell. So they give me small training, but after that I had the training proper one with Mr. Pancha.
So when you see my question, I get around to the question is that when Mr. Deer visited the shop and he found the non-duty paid items there, had you had your training?
Just started.
Just started.
Okay. It had just started. Okay. And now that you say that you are trained and you understand everything, could you explain what Challenge 25 is?
Sorry?
Now that you say that you have got the training and you understand all the rules and regulations attached to licensing, can you explain what Challenge 25 is?
Challenge 25 is that if we have some customer who is coming and he doesn't look on 25 years old, I need to ask this customer to show me the ID. Or to give me the passport, or to give me the driving license. That I need to check, and I need to make sure that this person is more than 18 years old, and then we can sell the alcohol wherever the customer wanted. And in the same time, we need to put all this information in a book, in a refuse book, that we was asking that person about the ID or passport that is happened, that we wasn't sure. That's why we was asking about that documents.
Have you done that in
Yes.
these few months? You have.
Yes, yes.
You have the book.
Yes.
So you have entered the details in the book, in the
Yes.
logbook. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Chair, my next question is for Mr. Panchal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kumar, go ahead.
Okay, hi. Yeah, I wanted to know clarification on, you were asked a question about not a question, but Mr. Dare on his conditions has said that you will agree, or do you agree or disagree that the previous owners, the two owners, will not be allowed on the premises? But you did not, in your statement, you did not say anything on that.
Ma'am, I've already confirmed that to say that we are happy to have that condition. That is condition number 4, that the previous owners not be allowed on the premises at any involvement in the business at these premises. I did say that we agree to that condition.
I didn't hear that. I heard you say something different. So you've clarified that. So you are happy with that condition, if you were to be minded. Okay. The other thing is on the draft lease that you're saying that you will be it will be acquired soon and signed off. Do you envisage any changes on that? I mean, that would affect the premises or granting of a license.
Although we're not involved in the convenience part of the lease, but I don't think there should be any changes into that. I think Irana would be able to answer that. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there are any changes on the lease that's going to come up.
No, it's not going to be changes.
There's not going to be.
No.
Yeah, it's been confirmed there will be no changes on the lease.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. You also mentioned while you were speaking that you were talking about the items that were found on the premises, and you said duty paid or something. So what is the something? What does the something refer to?
Ma'am, I was just referring to that there were duty not paid items found at the premises, which is the alcohol she was talking about. And there was way back in Mr. Deer's representation about the cigarettes which were found a long time back, illicit alcohol and cigarettes being found on the premises in 3rd November. That's what we were referring to, which was not the products for them to deal with.
Okay, because I didn't want to hear the word something, because something could mean anything. So I just wanted that clarified. I also note that the hours that have been requested, are not too far off the core hours. But if it were to, we were to stick to the core hours, would that be something that would be acceptable as well?
Yes, ma'am. I think these are 4 hours, but not. Yeah, we are happy to, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kumar. Any more questions from you, Councillor Ahmed?
No, Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if that's the case, I'm now going to call on the police to give representation.
Councillor Jammu,
Sorry.
perhaps Mr. Deer, or indeed if the police are present, have any questions for the applicant at this stage before you go on to the police representation.
Actually, I do apologise. That's what I meant to say. Bob, any questions?
Thank you, Chair. Just one question about the draft lease. on my copy, in the part where it says about the parties involved, it mentions Qbos Limited. I don't know if that's a draft that's been used many times. But Qbos Limited was another off license in South Ealing Road. I was wondering if that is a mistake. Perhaps that can be confirmed.
I think that must be a mistake if we've seen Qbox there. I think it must be a mistake. Sorry, there might be a mistake of the conveyance lawyer to send a draft lease, and he might be referring to Qbox. I don't know. But there's definitely a typo error there, Bob.
Thanks, Mr. Panchal. Obviously, you wouldn't want to be associated with Qbos Limited, I can assure you.
No.
One other question: what percentage of the sales in the shop are alcohol? Because every time I've been there, you've got the upright fridge that's obviously well stocked, and the spirits behind the counter. What percentage would Mrs. Yankovic's be estimate?
This is from there.
So we have, I don't know if you remember, Mr. Bob, we have the alcohol behind at the back of the counter, yes, where the customer can see. So this is the alcohol, and we have beer in the fridge, and we have a garage. I don't know if you know, we have a garage like a storage room, because in the shop we don't have much more space to put some like more stock. So in the garage we have a stock of beer, and we have a stock of maybe like, I don't know, a few bottles of some wine, of champagne, some Polish vodka, some what is some strong, I mean this strong alcohol, but it's not much. No, the beer we have like maybe 3-4 cases, up to 5.
No, sorry, what I mean is, would you say of your total sales in the shop that alcohol is 10%, 15% or more?
No, not at the moment, not a lot, maybe 10%. At the moment, not a lot. We're not selling a lot of alcohol, especially beers. It was cold, and plus the beers, the price go up because of the Brexit, and the customers start to buy a little bit less of beer. So at the moment, it was not much. But I think maybe on the summertime, when it's going to become a little bit more hotter, people are going to start to buy more. But again, it depends of the price, it depends of the Brexit, how much is going to be the price of the beer.
Okay, thank you very much. Chair, I have no other questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from anyone else before we move on?
I do, Chair. I think one actually would be to Mr. Dare.
Go ahead, Councillor Kumar.
Yeah, I'm just sort of okay. Is there any display or retail sale of alcohol on the shelves at the moment?
Yes.
Wines.
Wines, yes, wine, champagne, Polish vodka. We have, like I said, beer in the fridge. It's soplica, soplica, which has different flavor of taste, like strawberry, nuts, lemon. We have cognac. We have a cognac, and we have Jack Daniels. It's a whiskey. We have some whiskey, yeah.
Okay, the next question is that when at the time of the visit, the beer fridge was fully stocked with high strength Polish beers, and I think we've touched base on that. You do realize that there was a breach of condition 20 of the premises license. And I understand that you had formed the company in October 2020. So it would probably mean maybe a month or so before this visit was made. And then that's when the illicit stock was discovered there. It's all there in the statement. Could you just sort of give me an explanation of that, please?
Yes, very much.
When you tell them. They're gone.
Whatever the Mr. Bob found, that we removed everything.
When did you start removing the things?
Straight away on the next day in the morning.
But when I asked you a question previously and you obviously explained everything to me, you did say that it was, you mentioned a few days that you had been, everything happened too quickly.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the Mr. Bob found it, I mean, these items, we removed them straight away. We put them to the sink. And what we found it when we just took it the shop, whatever we found it on the shelf, we as well removed. We put them in the sink. We put in a bin. We didn't sell that one.
No, because why I'm sort of emphasizing on this question is that when you gave me the answer to my previous questions, you did say that you didn't realize what you were buying and paying for because everything happened in a matter of days. But from the time that this visit was made, it's probably a whole month or so would have gone by, and you had still not realized that. So I mean, I'm just a little bit concerned that you say that you were receiving training, you were asking questions, you were looking at the stock, and you know that this was...
No. So I had...
Let me finish what I'm asking, because if you interrupt what I'm asking, then, I have to ask it again. So, I mean, I need a proper explanation on that so that it's clear in my mind and the mind of perhaps also of the panel.
Ma'am, I can explain that what she's trying to explain to you, that when from my experience, when businesses are taken over and stock takes are done, sometimes the stock takers come in, and the stock takers will normally go around and take all the stocks of the shop which are valid for sale. They will remove anything that is expiry date, say for instance scripts or anything which were about to expire. And they would count the stock as a general stock to say the general stock is now valued at 10,000 or 15,000, which the new newcomer will have to pay for to the outgoing seller. And then the buyer will have to go around to see what stock is valid for them to sell and what stock is not valid for them to sell according to the conditions, because the previous owner could have brought in the stock. And it happens at many places when people tend to put in the stock from somewhere else and put it as part of, and that is what happens in business. And this is what happened here when the stocks were given to them. They then realized when Bob came in November, and while she was training, she obtained, as I said earlier in my presentation, she obtained a personal license in November 2020. So she was on the training here with us in November. And Bob's visit was on 3rd of November. So during that visit, whatever was found, which we say that whatever is not valid for you to sell, you'll have to remove. So they would bear that cost on their own self. That would be a loss to them, which they've incurred or inherited from the previous owners. And they decided to remove what was not valid for them to sell. So that process was going on. And thereafter, come November, December, or today, if any visits are made at their shop, they are fully compliant with every stock that they have. They are fully compliant with what they have in the shop presently. So that indicates that coming to this hearing today and from November onwards, when they were realized about the Bobs, there is no breaches at the shop. They are very careful about their breaches at the shop. That's a plus point that we need to understand about a trader at this very instance.
No, I've heard all that and understand that, but I was just a little bit surprised that you saying you have stock takers doing it, whereas Mrs. Yanovich said that she's the only one doing it. So that's two different things.
She's inherited. When she said she's doing it, I mean she inherited the stock. She kept saying that in her first presentation also. that she inherited the stock for which she paid. We could go on saying about what the previous owners have done, but we're not here to mourn about that, because they have not even paid the dues for the electricity which was due, which Bob is aware. There was about £1,000 worth of electricity not paid by the previous owners.
Yeah, but we're not discussing. I mean, I haven't asked any question.
Yeah, I agree that we're not going to be discussed, but they did inherit things that they were not supposed to, but they went ahead and then sorted those matters out.
Yeah, no, I just spoke to Mrs. Janovich, and she answered the questions that I asked, and she clearly said that she's the one who's dealing with it, because on her own she doesn't have any help. And yet you've mentioned us, stock takers. So I was just wondering where that came from.
It's a norm, ma'am. It's an absolute norm. Anybody buying a shop has to have a stock taker to come into for ingoing and the outgoing person. That's a norm on a purchase of any shops. Sorry to say this, but then again, she did mention to you that the husband is helping her. At the moment, we have requested or they have come to the conclusion that the husband's going to relieve himself out of the intercontinental job that he has on a permanent basis, and going to join the wife in this venture of the shop.
Yes.
Okay.
Fine, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Panchal. Thank you, Councillor Kumar. I'm now going to ask, I believe Kerry Smart put a hand up to speak earlier. Kerry, did you have some questions?
Thank you, Chair. It's just in relation to, I apologise for being late. I was at a...
No, we got your apologies. Thank you.
I apologise about that. It's just, it may have been covered whilst I was not here. It's just in relation to the lease that was submitted or served yesterday. I just had a question around that, but I can cover that in my representation.
So can I get to you whether you want to ask the question now or cover it later?
That's right. I'll ask a question. The lease that's been submitted within the application is not dated or signed. Has this been confirmed? Is there a lease that's been signed and dated?
It's not signed and dated yet, but it's ongoing, and it's going to have a completion within a month or so. It's on a process of completion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right. Are there any other questions before I go on to the next topic? Okay. I'm now going to go on to, are there any objectors in this application? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Sorry, ma'am, are you asking us or?
I'm asking the people here present if there's anybody who's objecting. Are there any objectors?
Chair, I think we're going to Mr. Deer's representation now, if you can present it, and then if indeed Ms. Smart wants to present her representation, and then any questions.
Thank you. Bob, your representation, please.
Thank you, Chair. As I mentioned in my written representation, this premise is well known to me, and I first met Mr. Janovich when I served the review papers at the premises on the 3rd of November due to previous fines of illicit alcohol and cigarettes. You've obviously heard from the applicant herself that obviously on that night I saw a bottle of vodka still on the shelf, and it was only one bottle of vodka on sale there, but obviously it was non-duty paid. And when I looked in the small kitchen area down under the sink, there were another 5 bottles of non-duty paid vodka. Obviously Gregory Yankovic was there that night on his own, and he stated that he was just helping out. Which surprised me. I also asked him actually about whether and it was mentioned in the applicant's submission about the garage, the store at the back, which I'm fully aware that was there, but the applicant mentioned that they use it. Mr. Yankovic said it's never used on that night, which did surprise me. I think it's the time, and I'm sure after this hearing they will appreciate that they need to be fully open and honest. As I mentioned, on my time I visit in the beer fridge, there was beer between 5 and 8% ABV. None were price marked, which is a breach of condition 20, which says that cheap beers cannot be sold, a high strength but cheaper beers, which basically is an unenforceable condition and very vague for both sides, should we say. But also it says that all beers should be clearly price marked, and none were. These premises are situated in a commercial and residential street in Hanwell, and obviously they are applying for later hours than the current licence that is under appeal by the previous owners. So they're asking for an extra, I think, 8 hours. Yeah, 8 hours from the other licence, which you might think is not a big step, but obviously they could be running before they start to learn to walk. We've heard about their experience, which is very minimal. There is different stories or sides about when they started. The applicant mentioned August in there helping out. The company was formed on the 2nd of October, as Councillor Kumar has pointed out. So they have been in there quite a while. The experience, I think that's been gone over. It's very minimal experience and probably 6 to 7 months experience of working in an off licence. I have asked that the licence be refused in full. However, if you are minded to grant the application, I've asked for those 4 conditions, which would help, I think. And also I'd like to point you to a condition in the application. It mentions right at the top of page 22, it mentions that cease to be installed in 28 days recording system, and then it contradicts itself and they say they'll agree to 31. And that is my representation, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other representations?
Hi, Chair. The police?
Yes, from the police.
Perfect. So, as we know, this is a convenience store which is located within a highly populated residential area on a main road on Greenford Avenue. The applicant has applied for hours as stated in my representation. The conditions, apologies, I don't know what the additional 4 conditions Mr. Deere has agreed to, but within the operating schedule, the conditions offered by the applicant, the police are happy with. However, the one condition that we are not in agreement with is the 6% ABV. The reasoning for that is the levels of street drinking and antisocial behaviour associated within the borough is at a high level at the moment. And in order to address this for the police and the local authority, who work very closely together in trying to reduce the amount of street drinking within the borough, we believe that 5% is proportionate for the licensing objectives to be promoted. Obviously, you've heard about the previous visits by Mr. Deere, and it appears that the applicant was at the premises at the time of the visits. I've obviously done due diligence and have checked on Company's House, and the ownership of the premise relates to the applicant herself and Mr. Yankovic. The lease that's been produced, as I said before, it's not dated and it's not signed, so the police are not convinced that the the deal has gone through or it's in the process, and that the original premises license holder are still not involved within the premise and the operating of the premise. Because if that was the case, then surely when they took over, correct me if I'm wrong, October last year, then the lease would have all been sorted out and it would have all been in place. So the police are not convinced that the previous owners do not have any involvement, whether it's the running of the business or any financial involvement in the premise today. So therefore, we make our objections to the application as it currently stands.
Okay. Thank you, Kerry. I'm now going to invite questions to Bob and to Kerry from the applicant.
Yes, Chairman. My question to Bob, have you visited the premises after November?
No, I haven't made any other further visits yet.
Yeah. During our conversation with yourself and myself regarding this premises, we did have a conversation over the phone, if you agree with me, and we discussed about the present new or the present application. Do you agree that you are much more satisfied compared to the previous owners?
Obviously, I think we still may differ regarding the ABV slightly, and the other part, which I would have mentioned actually in my summing up, but is the lease. I still think that any license, if granted, should not be granted until we have a signed lease in our possession. I mean, I appreciate you said it could be a month, but the premise is still operating under review, under an appeal anyway.
My client also would like to speak about the lease, but before she does about the lease, would you, if we were to agree the conditions that you laid out, do you think that 5.5 would be reasonable, or do you think you would still prefer to stick at 5?
I would still
the area. Sorry.
I would still like to stick at 5 because, as our conversation that we both explained our reasoning behind our thoughts behind our reasoning, should we say? But and I appreciate there are other licenses in the area that have high strength, i.e., 9% in their shops, but those premises have been there a long time, have never been found breached in any conditions and such like. And obviously I've got a vast experience in the licensing trade.
You are also aware that, if you remember, we had this conversation about the electricity bills and that left over by the previous owners, which came onto them. You're aware, we discussed that matter also, didn't we?
Yes, I'm fully aware of, should we say, the previous license holders obviously have treated this applicant and her husband very poorly, and obviously it just showed how he obviously operates businesses as well.
Thank you for your answer, Bob, but I don't think that actually relates to this particular application, because that's what we're looking at. We don't need to discuss the previous application in this particular case.
Thank you very much, Bob. Ma'am, we would like to ask just a clarification to Kerry Smart.
Yes.
Sorry, Kerry. Yeah. Kerry, just on page 39 of your representation, you said the police welcome the conditions set out in the operating schedule, apart from condition 10. So you're happy we have no objection. We're going to leave that to the committee. We were asking for 5.5, but it was to 5. We still are happy to go ahead with that. But you're happy with the other conditions laid out in the application from your point of view?
Yes, as per my representation, we welcome the conditions that are proposed within the operating schedule. It's just that condition of 6%, which we're not in agreement with.
Yes, Chairman. And Chairman, regarding the lease that is not signed with what we're hearing from both the representations, my client would like to say something about the lease. So I'm going to ask her to clarify the lease position at the moment.
I just want to say just one sentence about the lease. We would like to sign the lease as soon as possible. Because we already put so much work in the shop, and we put so much investment in the shop, and we did refurbishment, but the lease is taken long because by law the previous lease, to sign the new one, need to be cancelled, the previous one. And because of the Brexit, because of the COVID situation, even our own the owner of the premises, his mom is passed away. So this is because of this is again take a time to cancel the previous lease and to sign for the new one. And we have 3 lawyers in the same time working about our lease and about the documents and everything. And it was December time that it was Christmas. And one time one lawyer go on holidays, another time another lawyer go on the holidays. And because that we cannot have all together in the same time holidays, that's why it take again long period to sign the new lease and to cancel the previous one. This is just because of this is taken longer, but we really doing everything what is from our side, and our lawyers, they already send the emails for the other lawyers that we are happy with everything, we are happy with the lease, and we're ready to sign it, just we are waiting for the previous one to be cancelled.
Chair, I've got a question here.
Yes, Councillor Munir, you may.
Yeah, Mr. Panchal, whoever can answer, yes, a lease can take several months to sign or complete. So until that, under what arrangements are they occupying the shop? Do they have an agreement? Have they signed a license until the lease is completed? Do they have any arrangements?
Yes, Chairman, they have they already have an arrangement. What they actually did in this particular case, which normally we wouldn't have advised to do, they came to us quite a bit late. We could have advised them. What they did was they paid the deposit to the previous owners, and the previous owners handed over the keys to these people without and saying we could go ahead with the lease and everything, and the lease work had started when they paid the deposit to the previous
I don't think lawyer or solicitor would ever advise any client to pay anything without any written arrangements. They do advise to have a license in the meantime. So if they went through a solicitor, I don't believe solicitor would ever advise that.
I totally agree with you. And we would advise the same thing, what you are saying, that we would have advised them not to go ahead without signing the lease. But like I said earlier to you, that they came too late to us. They made the arrangement with the previous owners by saying, here's a deposit. And the previous owners were in a hesitant mood to quickly quit the shop because they already created the problems which were looking at the shop. So as soon as they received the deposit, they handed over the keys to Mrs. Irana, who took over the shop while the lease was going on. So the lease documents were going on. They came to us regarding the license, which we advised that you need to apply for a new license because the license is already in a problem that the new previous owners have created.
I'm talking about premises license, not the off-license license. I'm talking about to occupy the premises, you can sign a temporary license until
Yeah.
the lease is completed. So
Yeah.
that shall I take it? They don't have any license or agreement.
They do have that agreement with the previous owners on a written agreement on a paper.
Yeah.
They do that have once they pay the deposit, because that he also signed to say, here I have received a certain deposit and I'm handing over the keys. That agreement they have. Okay, that is a paper that we advised Mr. Irana that sometimes it's not valid. But then again, that was the arrangement they carried out. And we've been seeing this kind of arrangements going over, not only in this shop, but in many shops that we come across with the Asian community. It does goes on, but that's the way it is.
Okay, Chair, I'm done.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, Mr. Panchal, do you have any other questions to Mr. Dear or Ms. Smart before
No, thank you, Chair. No, we don't have.
Thank you. Councillor Kumar, do you have any questions?
I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions, Hetty?
Yes, Chair. If parties can now close, so
Yes,
if the
that's what I was going to get to. Okay, thank you, Hetty. Yes, if there are no other questions now, we can now close this meeting so that the panel can discuss an outcome for you.
Chair, sorry, when I meant close, if the applicant wants to make their closing submissions, and then if Mr. Dear and Ms. Smart want to make their closing submissions, if there's anything they want to add, and then if you can close the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Hetty. Right, closing statement then, please, from first of all, Mr. Panchal.
Yeah, Chairman. My closing my closing statements. I'm just checking whether I was on. If you could listen to me, Chairman. My closing statements here would be that we have a client here that we are dealing with. We have quite a lot of confidence in this client working along with the shop. They made vast improvements that I've said to you in beginning and spent a lot of money. Yes, they are learning, and there is a way forward for them to bring these premises. You heard our discussions with the police and with Mr. Dear. So we feel that a chance be given to them in having this license granted, and we are quite confident in saying to you that they will not be coming in front of you again here. They will be following and not breaching, and they will be robustly promoting the 4 licensing objectives. You could see that the operating schedules put up are quite sufficient enough on what the Kerry Smart, the police, is also saying. Yes, we are asking if it's possible that we could get the alcohol limit to 5.5, but we'll be happy to have it to 5% if the license was granted today. So, Chairman, we feel that the license be granted today.
Okay, thank you. Our responsible authorities, is there anything else you want to sum up? Mr. Dear?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Very briefly, obviously, forgot to congratulate the applicant and getting 5 stars for food safety, which is a plus. You've heard that alcohol sales in the shop are only sort of 10 to 15% at the most. They've had it's been mentioned, training, but as it's always, it's got to be adhered to and to the letter of the law, and advice sought, should we say, from the authorities if they have any problems. But I still stand that no license should be granted until we see a signed copy of a lease. And my reason behind that is that if the previous owner decides he doesn't want to sell the shop, he can go straight back in there. There's nothing protecting that at all, and that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob Dear. Ms. Smart, is there anything?
Yeah, I have nothing further to add apart from what I've said and what's within my representation.
Right, thank you. Okay, this is where we've heard from both sides, and the panel has no further questions. So this is where we retire to deliberate together with our legal advisor. So we will. I'm not sure what time we're going to reconvene. It's 1:15. I'm going to ask our clerk to send emails to the relevant parties and give them a time to reconvene once we've made our decision.